Does anyone remember Larry Graham, the singer Larry Graham? He was a Jehovah's Witness. Well, he's still alive, so he is a Jehovah's Witness, I think. He's the one that studied with Prince, I believe. I think he's the one that like helped Prince become a witness. But he had a song back in the day called "One in a Million." It's probably like his most famous solo song. He was mainly like a guitarist, and he played other instruments and everything. But the rumor about that song is that the song was really written about him finding the quote unquote truth. And that was his once in a million, chance of a lifetime to find the Jehovah's Witnesses, to find the truth. So I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard that from several people. I even heard some elders say it. But because of that, back in the day, my mom used to play that song to death. I mean, all the time. I used to be sick of it because like every time I turned around, I just heard I think it's got like a piano or something at the beginning, and you just hear the deep voice come in, like a 1 in a million. You know what I mean? It's like, oh man, how many times can you play the same song? But that was the rumor, that song was about him finding the truth and becoming a witness. And what made me think about that is I was working out this morning, and I put out put Pandora sometimes, just the old school R&B channel sometimes, and that song came on, so it brought back those memories. And also the memories of witnesses really like riding for the witness entertainers, more so back in the day than now. But my mother's favorite one was George Benson. It's George Benson, and I believe he is also still a witness. I mean, if you look on YouTube, he's singing Kingdom Melodies and everything, and doing interviews about it and everything. But my mother was born in, my mother's from Pittsburgh, so, and she spent most of her time there in the Hill District, which was a pretty rough area of Pittsburgh, back in the day. And that's where George Benson's from. My mother's only a few years, I think, younger than George Benson. So she knew him, growing up, he'd be a little kid running around playing with his little guitar or whatever before he blew up. So, when he made it, that was always, she was a big fan of his. And anytime there was a concert anywhere near us or whatever, we had to go to see George Benson. It was crazy growing up with George Benson, because it was double. So he was from Pittsburgh, from her neighborhood, and he was a witness. So it was triple, you know what I mean? So anytime, she was playing his music all the time. It was records back then, playing the records, going to the shows whenever she could. And then Larry Graham, of course, with that 1 in a Million song. Prince, a lot of witnesses were kind of had a big question mark around Prince, because they're like, I don't know. I know he says he's a witness, but have you heard the music? There was some confusion there. But people still, supported him. But I made the video because there was one particular time with George Benson. So I don't remember how old I was. I was young, but we went to a George Benson concert, and there was a whole bunch of witnesses in attendance at the concert. And after the concert was over, it was probably, back in that day, I think he went on for an hour and a half or 2 hours or something, just himself, you know what I mean? But after the show, my mom, she brought me and all these other witnesses, went up to the garden, the backstage area, and was we want to go meet Mr. Benson. And they're like, nah, nobody can come backstage, you know what I'm saying? What are y'all talking about? But one of them said, can you please just go tell him there's a bunch of Jehovah's Witnesses out here who want to meet him. He's our brother. We want to meet him. And I'm sitting there thinking man, come on, man. There's no way he's about to let all these people backstage. But 5 minutes later, the guy comes back and he's like, yeah, Mr. Benson said, all of y'all come. There was, like I said, it was probably over 20 people there. And he's like, yeah, he wants all of y'all to come back. And so everyone went backstage, and he's just waiting. He's sweating, you know. He just got done putting on a concert. I'm sure he's exhausted. I'm sure he didn't feel like, you know, dealing with all this nonsense, but he did. And like, it wasn't just, hey, how y'all doing? It was like he sat there for probably 45 minutes to an hour just talking to people, asking them questions and everything. Of course, my mom was like, hey, I grew up in your area. I remember you when you were young, you know. But just talking to people, exhausted, tired, that made me kind of respect, you know, who he was as a performer, because I know he didn't want to do that. And back at the time, you know, I was indoctrinated, so I believed all the witness stuff too. So back then, it made me really respect him as a witness, you know what I mean, that he did that. And I think before, it was basically him saying, y'all ain't got to go, but y'all got to get the hell out of here. He said, all right, guys, before you go, we got to sing a Kingdom Melody together. And he chose one of the songs everybody knew, and they were back there singing with George Benson. Everybody had, like, was all, they left there super pumped up. I know my mother was real excited, you know, when we left there, but that was kind of cool that he did that. But witnesses love George Benson because he was a witness. Larry Graham, you know, I'd like to really hear. I tried to search a long time ago, like, to see if he actually said that he wrote One in a Million about being a witness or not. But that's the rumor I always heard, but I never heard it, you know, come from him. So I wonder if he did. That's a little interesting Jeopardy fact tidbit, you know, if he did. But the entertainers, you know, just thinking about the entertainers that either are or have been witnesses. So, you know, the ones I mentioned, then you got, of course, the Jackson family, Selena, the singer. You got Serena and Venus Williams. Did I say Wayans brothers? So the Wayans brothers. Michelle Rodriguez, you know, from Fast and Furious and all those other movies. There's a lot of people. Biggie Smalls and Ja Rule. Even, you know, from the radio personality, Charlemagne the God, like, all of them grew up as Jehovah's Witnesses. And it's kind of crazy when you really think about it, like the contribution that witnesses or former witnesses have really kind of had on pop culture. When you think about all those different you know, contributions. Wayans brothers themselves, all the different TV shows and movies, In Living Color, Scary Movie, White Chicks, you know, just so many different movies that they've had their hands. And I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, which is like a hood classic, you know what I mean? So just so many things that they've been involved in over the years. Just that family alone. And they grew up as Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't think any of those guys still practice, but you know, they talk about it in interviews sometimes. But yeah, just thinking back to that, kind of funny. I hope someone out there, like, has some more information on that Larry Graham song, to know if that's true or not. But that song is forever stuck in my head, because there's many mornings I used to wake up and that song would just be playing. And I just had the whole song memorized. So when I came up, you know, on the playlist and just started playing, just kind of made me laugh a little bit. But who do y'all remember? Like, what witness entertainers do y'all remember, like, looking up to growing up, or, you know, being a fan of growing up? That's mine. You know, really the biggest ones was like George Benson in my household. George Benson, Larry Graham, some Prince. You know what I mean? But man, those records used to play over and over. I was sick of them. But leave me a message, send me an email. Who did y'all look up to growing up? And hey, if somebody has some info on that One in a Million, I'd be interested in hearing that, just to know if it's really true, or, you know, just like an urban legend. Y'all have a good day.